Hey there, welcome to a new video. Today we are talking about a new plugin called Antichroma by Player. All the sounds you have heard in the intro clip so far use Antichroma in a way, whether it be in the mixing process or also in the sound designing process, which I will break down later. So let's get into the basics of Antichroma first. This is what it sounds like on a saw wave. You can clearly hear that it's making the sound more metallic. So you can use Antichroma to give sounds a metallic tonality. It can be in a tonal way. You can use it in melodic contexts. For example, Player showed some examples on his page, but you can also use it in atonal ways, like I did here on the more heavy side of dubstep or bass music. You can also use it in drum and bass, obviously. And here you have a pitch knob, which is the most important knob. So you can change the tonality, which is really good. You can come up with some insane basses. And you can also adjust the harmonics, which is really cool to get the exact tonality which you are aiming for. Then there's a feedback knob. So when we are at the tail of a sound, you can hear there's a feedback ringing out and we can decrease it. And there's also a filter, pretty much self-explanatory. And then you have a few more knobs like the crunch knob, which also alters the tonality. And depending on the pitch, it becomes wider and a little bit more sprinkly. And also a little bit more noisy, which can be cool for designing sustains, for example. And then there's also the grid knob, which is insane for crunch. Also a KFC knob here. You can see what it's doing here. And also on the pitch knob there's a lid knob, which changes the algorithm or the pitch a little bit. This is just a saw wave, remember. So you can hear what this thing is capable of. Of course, there's also a wet knob and a dry knob, so you can mix it in like you need it in your projects. I think now you got a feeling of what you can do with it. Let's get into some examples. So when I first tried it out, I made this cool sound in Serum and used Antichroma on top of it. This is what it sounds like. I wanted to use it for an intro idea. Without Antichroma, it sounds like this. So just the tonality. And with Antichroma, you get that really rhythmish or dubsteppy feeling with this extended character. I'm pretty sure you will be able to see the difference here. It's really nice to blend it in the sound designing process. And then I resampled it a few times. So this is what I wanted to do in like the intro idea of this project. And then I made a drop and used it in various ways, which I will also break down. So of course we have the drums right here, nothing special. And then there's the main sounds, like these for example. So these are really special and ear-piercing sounds, but in context, they work really well. And now I want to show how I made the sound. So the initial idea came with this little serum, which was just a noise with a really short envelope, which sounds like this. So just a noise. And then I added Antichroma to give it a tonality because I wanted to use it for the sound generation, like you obviously would use it. And these are the settings I use. I also did a quick pitch automation here, just a tiny bit of movement. And then I used the delay to just reinforce the signal. And also Antichroma uses the principle of a feedback loop to create these really cool metallic resonances. I resampled the sound into this thing right here, so just the wave file, and then I stretched it. This is what I really like doing, just using a warping algorithm in Ableton and then stretching it and doing some weird automations with the transposition here. And after that, I resampled it a few times. Then I came up with this sound. Also some more Antichroma being used right here and also some more processing happening as well. And I resampled it again into this one. Then I finally came up with this drop rhythm. Like just resampling a few different variations. So it's really loud, but in context, it works really, really well. Some really unique sound design, like you would expect from WaxU, Ultra, or dveight, for example. This is how I use Antichroma on the sound designing process on the sound. And throughout the drop development process, I've also used it on some of the layers. I can't remember where exactly, but I've used it to make them more metallic and to fit the context as well. On the mixing side of the drop, to make it really, really nice and gritty and give it some more crunch, I've used Antichroma as a crunch method plugin. So we have my drop group right here, which is this one. And I did a parallel chain with the dry signal and with the wet signal. And for the wet signal, I used the gate to isolate the peaks here. Then I've used Antichroma on these settings, especially the grid is important. You set this up to the maximum level here, without and with. So you can hear it's adding this really, really nice crunch, this really, really nice sparkly character with the grid knob right here. And this is how I used it as a parallel layer. I've also added some serum FX, just with the dimension expander to give it some more stereo width, so it fits the context. And together with the dry signal mixed in, it sounds like this. And without this additional layer, it would sound less punchy and a bit more boring and not that wet. Another example I quickly want to show you is this sound. This was from a sound design session I did last year. And I also used Antichroma again, like you can see here. And you can hear there's this resonance happening now. And this is why I've used the gate to just isolate the ring out. So the ring out does not extend the border and is not audible anymore here. So we don't have to cut it out and resample. And I've used it to just give it some more metallic character. The sound is already pretty metallic, but I wanted to reinforce it and slightly change the tonality by using these settings here. Another one would be this one. Really nice to give them a cool tonality. And this is how I use Antichroma on this particular song. I will also do some more content in the next days and weeks about Antichroma. I have some ideas in mind, but I hope you enjoyed this little video so far. Let me know what you think of Antichroma by Player. I will also attach a link in the description and shout out Player for sending me a license to review and show you what this thing is capable of. It's really, really fun to mess around and to find the right tonality you are aiming for. Also make sure to follow Player, who made this insane plugin. He worked like over 2 years on this. Huge shout out Player for making this possible. And see you in the next video. Have a great day and goodbye.